In a town built on smiles, charm, and perfectly timed red carpet waves, there's another side to the spotlight that most fans never see. Behind the dazzling premieres and million-dollar grins, rage simmers beneath the surface of some of Hollywood's brightest stars. These are the icons who couldn't keep it together, the ones whose tempers scorched sets, wrecked relationships, shattered reputations, and sometimes careers. Some melted down under pressure. Others exploded with no warning. And a few, their fury was as famous as their films. You know their faces. You've memorized their lines. But what you're about to hear will change how you see them forever. Because behind every Oscar, every magazine cover, every carefully polished image, there are moments, caught on tape, whispered through the industry, or buried in decades-old tabloids, that paint a very different portrait. From explosive outbursts and shattered cell phones to terrifying on-set tirades and courtroom confessions, these are the 10 Hollywood stars with the worst tempers of all time. And by the time we reach number 5, you won't believe whose name makes the list. Let's begin. Number 10. Sean Penn, the brooding rebel who couldn't stay calm. Before he was an Academy Award-winning actor, Sean Penn was Hollywood's most volatile bad boy. Brooding, intense, and bristling with defiance, Penn didn't just play angry characters, he lived like one. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, his temper was front-page news. He punched photographers. He verbally assaulted journalists. He even served jail time, 60 days, though he only served 33 for assaulting an extra on the set of Colors. The charge? Throwing a punch during a traffic dispute. And while Penn's raw talent was undeniable, his performance in Mystic River alone could silence critics, his anger always lurked just beneath the surface. Even his romantic life wasn't immune. His marriage to Madonna was tabloid gold, but behind the scenes it was marked by disturbing allegations, including a reported incident in which he tied her to a chair and assaulted her, a claim later walked back, but never fully forgotten. Over the years, he tried to soften the edges. Humanitarian work, a more private life, fewer public blow-ups. But in Hollywood memory, Penn's legacy is split in two, the artist and the aggressor. And when tempers flare in Tinseltown lore, his name is never far from the conversation. Because some stars hide their anger. Sean Penn wore his like a second skin. Number 9. Alec Baldwin, the silver-tongued storm. On screen, Alec Baldwin could disarm with a smirk, but off-screen? He was a powder keg with a hair trigger fuse. For decades, Baldwin built a career on sharp wit, commanding presence, and that unmistakable voice, part velvet, part razor blade. But the same intensity that made him magnetic in films like Glengarry Glen Ross and The Departed also fueled a string of explosive incidents that blurred the line between actor and aggressor. There was the infamous 2007 voicemail, leaked to the press, where Baldwin berated his then 11-year-old daughter, calling her a rude, thoughtless little pig. The backlash was immediate. For many, it was unforgivable. For Baldwin, it was deeply personal and deeply humiliating. But that was only the beginning. He scuffled with photographers, he screamed at airline staff over a game of words with friends, he was arrested for disorderly conduct in 2014 after an aggressive confrontation with New York police, and more recently, his temper became intertwined with tragedy. In 2021, while filming Rust, a prop gun discharged in his hand, killing cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Though criminal charges became a legal battle of their own, Baldwin's confrontational history returned to the spotlight, not for what he did, but for how the world perceived his pattern of behavior. Even as he reinvented himself on 30 Rock, lampooning his own persona with biting self-awareness, the real-life Baldwin was still clashing in courtrooms, on sidewalks, and behind the scenes. A master of words, and sometimes a prisoner of them, Alec Baldwin remains proof that charisma can't always contain combustion. Number 8. Tommy Lee Jones, the ice-cold fury beneath the cowboy hat. You might not see it at first. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't shout, doesn't grandstand. He doesn't need to, because his anger doesn't explode. It simmers, tight-lipped, cold-eyed, and cutting. On screen, he's the ultimate stoic tough guy, the unflinching U.S. Marshal in The Fugitive, the grizzled agent in Men in Black, the no-nonsense sheriff in No Country for Old Men. But off-screen, that same no-nonsense persona is often described by co-stars, directors, even interviewers as downright terrifying. He's notoriously difficult to work with, not because he throws tantrums, but because his simmering intensity keeps entire crews on edge. One slip, one wrong word, and the mood turns glacial. Cold fury, a stare that could freeze a set. Director Joel Schumacher once said working with Jones on Batman Forever was like walking on eggshells. When Jim Carrey, who played the Riddler, tried to introduce himself to Jones during production, he was met with unexpected vitriol. Jones reportedly told Carrey, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery." Cold, brutal, and completely unprovoked. Co-stars have described Jones as brilliant but emotionally locked down, a man who could go from calm to caustic in seconds. He's not the actor who'll flip a table. He's the one who'll cut you down with a sentence and leave you questioning whether you should have walked on set at all. Temper doesn't always mean volume. In Tommy Lee Jones's case, it's the quiet menace that chills everyone in the room. Number 7. Russell Crowe, the gladiator who couldn't keep his rage in the arena. Russell Crowe didn't just play volatile characters, he lived them. From the moment Gladiator launched him into global stardom, Crowe brought a forceful, alpha energy to every role he touched. Gravel-voiced, fists clenched, barely containing the storm inside. But while that rage made him mesmerizing on screen, it turned him into a headline magnet off of it. In 2005, he was arrested in New York for assault after throwing a hotel phone at a concierge who failed to connect his call. The device reportedly hit the man in the face. Crowe later said it was an act of frustration, but the damage to both the hotel staff and his image was done. There were other skirmishes too. A heated brawl with a BAFTA producer, a shouting match backstage at the British Awards, and repeated clashes with paparazzi, reporters, and crew members. The Australian actor even publicly apologized in 2002 for a profanity-laced backstage meltdown when his acceptance speech for A Beautiful Mind was edited short by producers. For a time, the narrative was simple. Russell Crowe was a brilliant actor with a bad attitude, but in the years that followed, he seemed to mellow. Age, fatherhood, and time out of the limelight helped reframe his image. Still, the legacy of his temper lingered. Because even now, when his name is mentioned, the memory of that hotel phone still echoes louder than his Oscar. For Russell Crowe, fury was both a gift and a curse, one that helped forge a legend and nearly broke it. Number 6. Christian Bale, the method actor who melted down. It was supposed to be another day on the set of Terminator Salvation. Cameras rolled, the crew adjusted lights, and Christian Bale, deep in character, was preparing for a scene. And then, it happened. An explosion, not in the script, but from Bale himself. Audio of his now infamous 2008 tirade leaked across the internet like wildfire. For nearly 4 minutes, Bale unleashed a relentless stream of expletives at the film's director of photography, Shane Hurlbut, who had accidentally walked into the actor's eye line during a take. "You are amateur," he shouted. "Kick your fucking ass." It wasn't just the volume. It was the sheer intensity. The clip became an instant viral sensation, parody fodder, and a permanent mark on Bale's carefully built image as a serious, uncompromising performer. But it wasn't an isolated moment. On the set of The Dark Knight, rumors circulated about Bale's temperament. his intense preparation, his refusal to break character even when the cameras weren't rolling. And then came another shock. In 2008, the same year as the Terminator incident, Bale was arrested in London after a dispute with his mother and sister. No charges were filed, but the whispers grew louder. To his credit, Bale later apologized for the outburst, calling it inexcusable, and many co-stars have defended his passion, painting him as a perfectionist, not a tyrant. But in the public eye, the damage was done. The meltdown wasn't just a moment, it was a revelation. Because Christian Bale's performances may be controlled, but the man behind them? Not always. His temper was the cost of his method, the shadow behind the mask. And yet, what followed was worse. A Hollywood legend is next, and it shocked even Hollywood insiders. Are you ready? Number 5. Mel Gibson. The fall of a Hollywood icon. There was a time when Mel Gibson could do no wrong. He was the charming renegade in Lethal Weapon, the noble hero in Braveheart, the visionary director behind The Passion of the Christ. He had charisma, clout, and the rare ability to leap between blockbuster action and prestige drama without missing a beat. But behind the camera-ready smile, there was a storm brewing. In 2006, the dam broke. Gibson was pulled over for drunk driving in Malibu. What followed wasn't just a DUI. It was a career implosion. His anti-Semitic tirade against the arresting officer, captured in a police report and later confirmed, shocked the industry. The Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world, he allegedly ranted. It was the first major crack, but not the last. In 2010, secretly recorded audio surfaced of Gibson screaming at his then-girlfriend Oksana Grigorieva. The tapes were chilling, filled with misogynistic and racist slurs, violent threats, and unhinged fury. They painted a portrait not of a man who lost control, but of someone consumed by it. Hollywood, once protective of its golden boys, recoiled. Projects disappeared. Studios backed off. Even longtime allies distanced themselves. For years, Gibson vanished from mainstream film, his legacy eclipsed by scandal and shame. He eventually staged a quiet comeback. In 2016, Hacksaw Ridge earned him a Best Director nomination and whispers of redemption. Some called it a second chance, others a betrayal of accountability. But for many, the damage couldn't be undone. Mel Gibson's temper wasn't just bad. It was destructive. Not a single outburst, but a pattern, a history. A fall from grace so complete, it still casts a shadow. He wasn't just another celebrity with a temper. He was the cautionary tale. Number 4. Edward Norton, the genius who couldn't play nice. To the public, Edward Norton was the quiet genius, brooding, mysterious, and almost mythically selective. From Primal Fear to American History X to Fight Club, he wasn't just acting, he was transforming. But behind the scenes, Norton's perfectionism didn't inspire admiration, it inspired dread. Reputations in Hollywood are often shaped in whispers, and Norton's came with a warning: brilliant, but difficult. Not in the temperamental divo way of trashing hotel rooms, but in a colder, more insidious form of control. He fought with directors, he recut films without permission, and when studios pushed back, he pushed harder. His feud with Marvel is legendary. Cast as Bruce Banner in 2008's The Incredible Hulk, Norton helped rewrite the script and shape the character. But when it came time to promote the film, and more importantly, return for the Avengers, Marvel dropped him. Their reason? They needed an actor who embodies the creativity and collaborative spirit. Translation: Norton was too combative. Then there was the American History X debacle. After clashing with director Tony Kaye, Norton allegedly took control of the editing room, reworking the film into his own vision. Kay was so furious, he asked the Directors Guild to remove his name from the project. Norton's temper isn't the explosive, screaming kind. It's quiet, methodical, power-driven, but no less destructive. He once said, "I don't play well with others." And in Hollywood, that can be a death sentence, because collaboration is the game, and Norton, despite his talent, refused to play by anyone's rules but his own. Number 3. Klaus Kinski, the madman behind the masterpieces. If there was ever a man whose temper bordered on myth, it was Klaus Kinski. To audiences, he was hypnotic. Whether portraying Count Dracula in Nosferatu the Vampire or the fevered conquistador in Aguirre, The Wrath of God, Kinski delivered performances that felt less like acting and more like possession. Raw, unfiltered, terrifying. But to those who worked with him, especially legendary director Werner Herzog, Kinski was a volcano. Unstable, dangerous, and, at times, utterly unhinged. On the set of Aguirre, Kinski's rages became legend. He screamed at crew members, threatened actors, and at one point fired a rifle into a hut because the noise of the extras annoyed him. 3 people were injured. And yes, that really happened. Herzog, who directed him multiple times, later confessed that the only way to complete Fitzcarraldo was by threatening to shoot Kinski if he walked off set. He claimed to have had a gun ready. Whether literal or symbolic, the tension was that real. In his own autobiography, Kinski didn't downplay his rage. He reveled in it. He painted himself as a prophet among fools, a tortured genius misunderstood by lesser minds. But even that bravado couldn't mask the darkness. His daughter, actress Pola Kinski, later accused him of years of horrific abuse, claiming he raped her repeatedly from the age of 5. It's a revelation that recontextualized everything. His fury, his madness, his so-called genius. Kinski's temper wasn't a quirk. It was a threat to those around him, and to the line between brilliance and monstrosity. He didn't just clash with Hollywood. He haunted it. Number 2. Charlie Sheen, the meltdown that shook a generation. For years, Charlie Sheen was Hollywood royalty, son of Martin Sheen. Star of Platoon, Wall Street, and the wildly successful sitcom 2.5 Men. With a smirk and swagger, he played the charming bad boy like he was born for it. But then, he stopped playing. In 2011, the world watched a man disintegrate in real time. What began as whispers about drugs, partying, volatile behavior on set, erupted into a full-blown media circus. Sheen lashed out at 2.5 Men creator Chuck Lorre in a series of bizarre interviews. He accused CBS of censorship, claimed he was underpaid, and demanded a 50% raise. When the network shut down production, Sheen didn't apologize. He declared war, and then came the spiral. A surreal onslaught of interviews where he boasted about tiger blood, Adonis DNA, and winning. His eyes wild, his speech erratic, he went on a public tear unlike anything Hollywood had ever seen. Sheen was eventually fired. His character was killed off, and though anger management briefly revived his screen time, his credibility was gone. What could have been a cautionary tale about addiction and fame became a tragic spectacle of self-destruction. It wasn't just the interviews. It was the violent altercations with ex-wives, the hotel room rampages, the domestic violence charges, the 2009 incident where he held a knife to Brooke Muller's throat on Christmas Day. Years later, when he revealed his HIV diagnosis, it reframed much of his past with a new lens, one of fear, secrecy, and perhaps pain masked by mania. But the damage had long been done. Charlie Sheen's temper wasn't a moment. It was an era. And for those who watched it unfold, it felt like watching Icarus burn, live on every network. And now, we've reached number 1. This is the worst temper in Hollywood history, and unlike the others, this star didn't just lose control, they made fear part of their legend. Number 1. Joan Crawford, the Ice Queen with a Molotov heart. Long before viral videos and leaked audio, there was Joan Crawford, Hollywood's original Tempest in heels. She was elegance incarnate, a star of the golden age, an Oscar winner, a fashion icon. Her face, framed by perfect eyebrows and ruthless ambition, defined glamour for generations. But behind the flawless facade was a fury that seethed like acid beneath silk. Co-stars, staff, directors, no one was safe. Crawford demanded absolute control over her image, her sets, her life. And when she didn't get it, the smile disappeared. And in its place, venom. She slapped extras, screamed at directors, fought with studio heads. She allegedly sabotaged younger actresses' costumes, spread rumors about her rivals, and once reportedly had a co-star's trailer moved into the parking lot, next to the garbage. But that was just the public temper. The private rage was far darker. Her adopted daughter, Christina Crawford, would shatter the myth forever with the 1978 memoir, Mommy Dearest. The book, and later the infamous film, painted Joan not as a troubled icon, but as a terrifying abuser. Screaming tirades, beatings, psychological torment, and, of course, the now legendary phrase screamed into pop culture infamy. No wire hangers, ever. Joan denied it all. Friends were divided. Some defended her to the end, others nodded solemnly in agreement. But the damage was done, and the story stuck. Because rage leaves marks, sometimes on careers, sometimes on people, sometimes on children. Joan Crawford didn't just have a temper, she weaponized it. She turned fear into power, control into cruelty, and in doing so she earned her place, not just as one of Hollywood's brightest stars, but as the definitive, unforgettable queen of the worst tempers in entertainment history. The stars and their tempers. 10 stars, 10 tempers. One burning truth. Fame doesn't calm the fire. It often feeds it. Behind every dazzling smile, every acceptance speech, every camera flash, there's pressure, ego, insecurity, pain, and sometimes a storm waiting to break. Some of these stars found redemption, others never did. But all of them remind us, in Hollywood, image is everything, until it isn't. So, who shocked you the most? And who, let's be honest, do you think we missed? Tell us in the comments. We're listening. Because the lights may go down, but the stories? They always burn on. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment down below as it helps support this channel. Also, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our newest videos. Thanks for watching.